Happy Tuesday. Welcome back to Inside the Lines. Plenty to go over today. We do have some value on some NBA tonight, but some futures and some college football stuff to talk about. This playoff situation is very messy, and we're going to break it all down. But first, a lot to go over in the NFL, but we're looking at some futures here that no one else is really talking about. So I'll bring in Jake and Steven to talk about them with us. We'll start here with Steven, I saw this and I was a little confused about Green Bay over 8.5 wins. So I'm really going to need you to expand on this one for me.
Yeah, I was confused too. And, a month ago, I would have never put this out. But, I'm buying into, or the models bought into Jordan Love and his, 5 or 6 game stretch where he's averaging 270 passing yards with 9 touchdowns to 3 interceptions, especially good the last 2 weeks. And obviously the big win at Detroit. So they're currently 5-6. The model has them at 8.5, so obviously that's not value over the line, but at plus 133, we like that value. And you can understand, and I'm really buying into this team versus average to below average competition. And if you look at the remaining games, they have 4 games versus below average competition. At the Giants, where we like them at 63%, Tampa Bay at home, where we like them at 60%, at Carolina, where we like them at 64%, and Chicago at home at 72%. So we're looking at a worst case scenario, probably obviously worst case is losing all 4, but most likely scenario go 3-1 in those. So they just need to pick up one more win. And so the other 2 games are Minnesota, which before last night and before Minnesota completely came under the 22.5, I realized why people thought Minnesota would go under 22.5 because Dobbs, implodes as an interception machine. Anyway, we like Green Bay to as a slight favorite at Minnesota in week 17 currently. We don't know what's going to happen there. They might switch from Dobbs to the backup who was there, but that's a TBD. And we like them not as favorites against Kansas City this week, but as a 40% underdog and value against the spread. So again, what we're thinking here is 3-1 in the 4 quote unquote easy games and split one of the hard games. And that's the most likely scenario to get to 9. The next game, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, honestly, for being objectively below average team themselves, it's pretty impressive to see that many below average teams left on their schedule with only so many weeks left. So I'm convinced, I will say now.
Thank you. All right. So this one, I almost stopped. I almost wanted to delete it because I don't believe in Derek Carr. And we saw what he did last week. Bad interception, pick 6, I believe, when they were in the red zone. But we like the model gives the Saints over a 50% chance of winning the division, even though they're plus 150. And Atlanta's 3-0 in the division. Atlanta just beat New Orleans. But it's really about a fade versus Atlanta. Atlanta's 4 of their final 6 are on the road. And on the road, they're 1-4 straight up with a -7 point differential. So one of the worst teams in the league if you just look at them as a road team. The Saints are actually a horrible team on the road this year, based on point differential. They're 2-2. One of those wins was a shaky win against the Tyson Bagent Bears, and they have a -4 point differential at home. But here's where the beautiful regression to the mean is coming in. I think the Saints talented enough to balance end the year with the winning home record and at least a 0 point differential. So we're looking for some good wins for the Saints. Going forward. Atlanta is, and again, we're talking about the value here at plus 150. Atlanta is greater than 53% sim favorite in just 1 remaining game. The Saints in 3 remaining games. So we're looking at an opportunity for and they've also played one more time in New Orleans. So we're looking at a decent chance of the Saints, not only just resulting in a tie where they probably might lose a tiebreaker based on conference record, but also potentially getting one more win over Atlanta.
Okay. Yeah, good stuff there. I think it's something you want to act on now, but probably the most crucial one to act on now is this next one. The Niners to win the Super Bowl. They go to Philly this week, and if they do beat Philly, obviously those odds will get a lot shorter. So this is definitely your best time to get that. We are pretty in line, I'd say, with the odds makers, but we definitely have some slight value here on the Niners to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, most people watching, Philadelphia is A++++, best teams probably in intangibles history, but their tangibles are not matching their intangibles, right? They have a 64-point differential, which is a remarkably low for a 10-1 team. San Francisco is the number 1 team in our model. Philadelphia is number 4 in terms of objective power ranking. The Niners were reopened they went from -1.5 +1.5 underdogs this week at Philadelphia to reopening at -1, and that's been bet up to 2.5, I think, in some spots. So the odds makers, when they reset their opening line, also agreed that San Francisco is arguably a 3-point favorite on a neutral field, and the bettors, betting markets like them even more. So everyone thinks San Francisco is actually the better team. So if they end up winning this game and they go from a 30% chance of getting that 1 seed in the first round bye to a 50% plus chance, then you're talking about, even if you don't think that your opinion of this team's quality doesn't change radically, just by a significant improvement in the getting that 1 seed in the bye will result in their odds, significantly dropping to maybe even that plus 280, 300 range.
Right. Okay, good stuff there. Any more NFL questions, please put them in the chat. Happy to answer those there. Let's move on to some NBA for today, for Tuesday night's games. We are equipped to answer all questions about them, but these are 2 plays that we like specifically. We'll start with Mark Williams and the Charlotte Hornets going to the Knicks. Knicks laying 11.5 at home, but you like a Hornets player here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. Maybe Jake, you know who Mark Williams is?
He's a dookie. I mean, he's still young. He's probably like 21 now. But yeah, I've been on a lot of Mark Williams props lately.
Yeah, because he's been playing closer to 30 minutes this season. He came on strong second half of last season, right? And the over this season is 8-5. He had 4 straight games recently with over 30 minutes and was over in 3 out of 4 of them. He had the foul trouble against Orlando his last game. Only played 22 minutes, but he still had 19 points, rebounds, and assists. So it's really staying out of foul trouble. I think that with Julius Randle is still jacking up threes. So, he's not going to draw a lot of fouls. Obviously, they're like Mitchell Robinson and other guys they're not post-up threats. So I think Williams can stay on the floor for his 30 minutes. They'll need his size for the rebounding. So I like that that prop. Plus, Nick Richards' backup center is out.
One thing about Charlotte is they are the worst team against opposing power forwards. So even though Julius Randle is jacking up all these threes, this is a good spot to get a Julius Randle prop.
Yeah, is his rebound line still low? It used to be. It was hovering at always.
I know his assist line's down to 4.5, and I know this is a good spot for that. So I played his over 4.5 assists. I know his points are at 21.5, so it's favorable number there too. So you get points and assists at around 25.5, 26.5, which I like.
Mm-hmm. I see some questions in the chat. We'll get to those after this money line play. Golden State on the road, 1.5-point dogs in Sacramento. We have some pretty good value here. We'd rather take the money line because a lot more value there, right?
Yeah, I figured that the chance of them, covering, the 1-point loss is worth the. So you can get like plus 122. Last time I checked on the money line at Caesars. So the Warriors last year they were a disaster on the road and really dominant at home. So far this year, it's been reversed. They're 5-3 on the road with a plus 5-point differential. More importantly, their 3-point percentage, their differential is plus 3%. Last year, it was like -6, I want to say. So that's why in the model we have Golden State playing a little bit better than you might expect. And the odds makers, I think, still have in their minds how bad the Warriors were back last year on the road. And plus, they've had 4 days off. Both teams have had 4 days off, and it's not exactly a long road trip from Golden State, to Sacramento.
Right.
The Kings, on the other hand, they have been playing well at home, but last year, which still is making an impact, actually had a better record on the road than they did at home last year. And this year so far, the Kings are -3% in 3-point differential. So that's really coming down to a slight edge, even half a 3 more. Advantage in Golden State's direction as opposed to what the odds maker would expect, and that's enough to count for that critical point.
Mm-hmm. Big Cheesy is going to be boots on the ground here at this game. He is going against us. This is a little bit of a showdown here, but you know what? If you're boots on the ground at the home team, I guess I would take their money line too. I won't pull it against you. All right, let's keep asking your questions in the chat. I know Jacob addressed it a little bit. Giannis over half a three made. Now we probably don't have him at a three in the model, but at plus 110, maybe there is a smidge of value.
We have him at a whopping 0.72 threes per sim. So
That's a lot.
Yeah, I know. I mean, he's hit one in his last 6 games.
One in his last 6 games. 2 in his last 10 games.
He's due.
Yeah.
I don't think it matters.
After he hits a three, I like playing no threes the next game. So it's always depends when he hits a three, though.
Yeah, this is the gambler's fallacy game, right? 3 blacks in a row. Next one's got to be red.
Speaking of the Bucks, Dwayne's got quite the parlay going here. Bucks, Cavs, Knicks, Kings money line. We don't like the Kings money line, as you just saw, but we can see where we have value on the other 3 games.
Cavs we like, especially because the money's been coming in on Atlanta. And so definitely, and the Cavs delivered on they were down early. Their last game, delivered on a money line win for us. I think there's some issues with, based on the prop lines being posted, it looks like everyone's seemingly good to go for Cleveland side. So we like that, but we don't like, so the Miami-Milwaukee game, it comes down to Butler, Adebayo, and even Haywood Highsmith are all game time decisions. Tyler Hero is still out. So I wouldn't put much stock in this. We like Miami if all those players are fully healthy and ready to go, but that's a big if.
Okay. All right. Good stuff there. We'll still look at your questions in the chat. We're going to pivot to some college football. We'll keep your screen up, Steven. Now, just a chaotic situation for the College Football Playoff Committee here. A couple scenarios we can run through and where we have value. I'll point out one of them being that we like Washington at plus 240 to make the playoffs because we give them a far, far better chance than the odds makers do here. So let's start there with the Pac-12. Let's run through the 2 situations, Steven or Jake. Oregon wins versus if Washington wins. What's the impact of that there?
I mean, if Oregon win, we're talking about this. It could go down to how close the game is, if it's a classic game. But I'm kind of rooting or Oregon wins and Alabama wins, but we'll see. I mean, so you can see that we have value in Washington in that game because they're at plus 9.5. We have them at plus 5 in our model. So we have them winning almost 40% of the time. And since they don't have a loss, if they keep this game close, there is a chaos scenario where Washington can somehow still get in, but most likely not.
Yeah, so I assume that there's the voter leeway and the eye test has now been introduced. So Oregon, even in a classic, if they lose, they're out. So we're fixed their percent chance of making it purely based on their chance of winning that game. Even you can't lose twice to the same opponent and make it. Washington, we are not only giving them a better than the odds makers think chance of winning the game, we're also giving them that scenario where, let's just say they lost at a classic. They lose the same way that Oregon lost to them earlier in the year. And you have, chalk at the top with Michigan and Georgia winning. But Florida State loses, Texas loses, and then you have this opportunity where, Washington could, one loss Pac-12 team and loses a classic could still get in. That's why their percentage of making it is higher than the odds. The odds makers aren't giving that leeway. The odds makers are giving both Pac-12 school, you got to win it to make it. Right.
And a different situation over in the SEC because Georgia, we still give them the wiggle room of having a 1 loss to Alabama. What is our value on that game? Georgia-Bama.
We're leaning Georgia. The line's steaming, right, Jake?
Yeah, the line's moved all the way to Georgia -6. And we said hop on it yesterday at -4.5. So I hope you guys did. It was down at 6.
Yeah, Georgia's now at 6. Texas now 14.5-point favorites as well against Oklahoma State. Let's talk about Texas's situation here. What do they need to happen to get into this playoff?
So this scenario, and this is one I'm not confident of. I'm obviously not a voter, but Texas. So the odds makers are giving Texas a nearly 50% chance of making it because they're heavy favorites to beat Oklahoma State. While also, and we agree that they should be heavily favored. The doomsday scenario for Texas is Alabama beats Georgia, and you have to have the SEC one-loss SEC champion in playoff. But Georgia is still, falls from number 1 to number 4, and the voters don't care that Texas beat Alabama. They'll say Georgia's one loss, a championship game loss to Alabama, is a better loss than Texas' loss to Oklahoma. And so so it comes down to, that's we think that could be a scenario where they would miss out. And so that's why we're giving them a little docking them.
Yeah, there's only so much. Huge. Exactly. So that's what I wanted to ask about. That's the tough part of being a model and, coding something like this, because we're dealing with people voting. But as far as advice, Jake, you would give on someone trying to put any kind of money on the college football playoff futures in general, where do you think the best place to put your money would be right now?
Probably Georgia. It's probably the safe bet. And there's no value really. Vegas doesn't have favorable odds for any of these teams really. It adds up to 430%, right, Stephen?
These the college football. These are DraftKings odds. They added to 430%, and the college football playoff it averages out comes up to 113%. So, but obviously, we're all here talking about gambling. If we cared about, we know it's not fair. So right. That's why it is important to highlight that the two teams that are highlighted are Georgia. We think Georgia is a good betting value because they're the best team. We have them at 93% in our simulation power rankings. And we like Washington because we give Washington a much better chance of beating Oregon than most. And so that's why they're hitting out. The team that really had the trouble with
Washington seems eerily similar to last year against USC Utah game where everyone's like, can't beat them twice, Heisman favorite. So it's very similar to that. It's hard to bet against Oregon with the way they've looked compared to Washington, but it makes sense that we don't have Oregon covering the 9.5 point spread, which is pretty big.
Yeah,
that's a bizarre spread to me. Has that steamed anywhere at all, or do you think that's going to sit where it is for now?
It moved from 8.5 and open to 9.5. So maybe it goes to 10. I could see it going back down, but I think it probably closes at 9.5.
It's really weird to have a first round QB with a first round wide receiver, undefeated, and be such a heavy dog on a neutral site.
Right.
Weird.
Yeah. All right. Moose is about ready for this to be over. Let's get Jake. He has a few college basketball props today, a little prize picks action. We'll hit those quick. Just a few here. We'll start with Kansas State laying 14 versus Oral Roberts today. You like a player prop here?
Yeah, this is an interesting line. I got this on Underdog. Arthur Kaluma the last 2 seasons, under 9 rebounds, 35-3. So it's very favorable. He's hit the over once this season. He's pushed one game too. But, if you just look at those pure numbers, he averaged 6 rebounds last year. He's averaging 8.5 this year. So he's definitely more in a better situation to rebound the ball now that he doesn't have a Ryan Kalkbrenner next to him and Creighton. But still, they're double-digit favorites. He might not play 30-plus minutes this game because of that. And, Oral Roberts isn't as good as they were last year, but 9 rebounds is a high number here.
Yeah, I agree there. Let's go to Miami. Traveling to Kentucky, they are 6-point dogs on the road here.
Yeah, I like this matchup for Norchad Omier. He seems to thrive in big games, and he's going against a Kentucky team that doesn't have a ton of size. Their big guy is Trey Mitchell, who's a West Virginia transfer who's similar size to Omier. Omier's got a little more beef on him. So I like this matchup for him. We have him at 17 points tonight.
Oh, okay. I like that value there. One more here. Jalen Hill, UNLV. They are playing Akron as 3.5-point favorites.
Yeah, Akron likes to shoot up a lot of threes. So this is a favorable matchup for Hill. He averaged just 6 last year at Oklahoma before he transferred to UNLV. He's hit this number 3 times this year. So it's more of a situation where we like him in UNLV compared to at Oklahoma. And we have him at 7.6 rebounds here. Akron's been out rebounded their last 2 games. Hill's put up 13 rebounds in 1 game earlier this season. So we like this matchup for him.
Mm-hmm. All right. 3 great props there to add to a little Prize Picks underdog situation wherever you can find them. Tomorrow, we certainly will continue to talk about college basketball. We'll have some college football. It's just that time of year where we're really going to hit everything. If there's anything you guys want to hear about specifically, please reach out to us and let us know, because we have a lot of flexibility on these Tuesday, Wednesdays. So we're a team of the people. Let us know what you want to hear. Good luck with your bets tonight, and we will see you guys tomorrow.